Dr. Crosley, and welcome to Real World Pediatrics. So, how do you fix a bad marriage? Well, it's a fact that people fall out of love. They just do. And here's some stats on that. According to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. The divorce rate for second marriages is even higher, with approximately 60 to 67% of second marriages ending in divorce. Now, as one divorcee told me, after a while, you've heard everything that your spouse is ever going to say. In other words, the novelty is worn off. Pretty soon, it's the little things that your spouse does that bother you. Okay, I sat next to this guy on a bus once. I was going across the country, and he was reading this book. And quite subconsciously, he would make this sound about every 30 seconds. He'd go. Now, imagine his wife listening to that for 10 years or more. Well, if this kind of thing has happened to you, the first thing you have to do is to determine if your marriage is salvageable. If it's not, you have to recognize that. Now, it's emotionally tough, but the sooner you come to accept the fact that people do fall out of love and that they're not compatible anymore, you won't take it so personally. Now, try not to take it personally. These things happen to everybody. Cohabitation of two completely different human beings is a tough thing to accomplish. Personally, I think that every married person should, by virtue of being married, automatically receive a Nobel Prize, an Academy Award, and the Country Music Award for Best Artist. That's the trifecta. They should receive that as compensation for getting married and for believing that marriage would solve all their problems. It won't. Now, as one mentor told me one day when I was young, we fool ourselves into thinking that if we get married, our problems will go away. But all we really do is trade in one set of problems for another. Now, this is tough to accept when you're young. It's not so tough to accept when you are older. Try to accept the consequences of marriage and its success and failure in the context of what God wants. Now, this may not be technically true, but it can help sometimes to believe what you know isn't true. When you come to accept that there are many things outside your control, it's easier for you to accept the reality of life. Don't get mad. Don't get angry. That's just a waste of your energy. Save your energy for what's going to happen when you move on. Leave vengeance to the Lord. Now, if you're thinking of killing your spouse, and I know that you are, forget it. You're not going to get away with it. I've watched enough of these programs, Forensic Files, Dateline, Court TV, to know that in today's age, it's near impossible to get away with anything unless you're a major celebrity. Your cell phone records everything in your life. Your car has a data recorder in it also. And there are cameras everywhere. Let's face it, the forensics and science employed by the police are just too good. There are legions of people sitting in jail today because they thought they were smarter than the police and could get away with it. And they couldn't, and they didn't. Now, let's just assume that you are not in that category, because it is very rare that people want to kill their spouse. Here's some stats on that. While a very small percentage of marriages end in intimate partner homicide, it's a tragic reality for some. A study from 2015 showed that the annual rate of male on female spousal homicide ranged from 0.95 to 8.76 per 100,000 couples, according to the NIH. And female on male spousal homicide ranged from 0.13 to 2.29 per 100,000 couples, according to the NIH. While these are low percentages, they represent a serious concern within the context of intimate relationships. Well, that's still a lot of people. In fact, in my career, I can remember two mothers for sure who were most likely killed by their spouse. Okay, but that's rare. It's still rare. Let's say that your marriage is salvageable. How can you repair this marriage? You can do it slowly. It begins with finding the good in the other person, not the bad. Now, probably you've gone down a path where you are screaming at each other, eye rolling in public, ridiculing each other, and calling each other names. Well, you have to stop doing that. Instead, begin with one simple compliment per day. Try to find one good word, even though your spouse doesn't deserve it. Try and see what happens. Don't make it any more complicated than that. Oh, yes. One more thing. Forget about the long, exhausting discussion. That will only push your spouse away. Remember, part of your job as a spouse, as a married person, is to make your mate's life easier and better. Weighing them down with a big, long discussion is not going to work. It only looks like it's going to work. Try a compliment instead. You don't have to make it obvious. Just throw one in every now and then. You might start with a simple thank you.